Welcome to another episode of LinkedIn Live Digital Transformation series. I'm genuinely delighted you decided to join us today. Today, I'm joining from Knoxville in Tennessee. So please drop in a quick hello in the chat and let me know where are you tuning in from. You know, at Cheemia, our purpose is really simple. We want to unleash the human potential to create a healthier world. And big part of that is helping pharma leaders move from just simply delivering messages to becoming the healthcare professionals' trusted advisors. And over the last 4 years, these digital transformation conversations have been about challenging thinking, sharing experiences, and exploring how we can engage healthcare professionals in a way that we are actually genuinely adding value to them. And that's exactly what I'm delighted to welcome today's guest. We have Gareth Motley, National Sales Manager at Glenmark. Hi, Gareth.
Hi, Mehrnaz.
It's so good to have you here. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Is it good afternoon or good evening where you are?
It's good morning, actually. It's just coming after like 1 minute past 11, so I'm 5 hours behind you, Gareth. It's really good to have you here. Thank you for accepting my invitation to join us. And before we kind of diving into our conversation, I just wanted to properly introduce you to everyone. Gareth is a senior commercial leader in pharmaceutical with more than 15 years of leadership experience across sales, marketing, and market access. Over the course of his career, he's worked across a wide range of therapeutic areas, including dermatology, ophthalmology, neurology, and immunology. And he's led teams in areas such as sales force effectiveness, stakeholder management, and also omnichannel transformation. Gareth is someone who delivers. He's consistently delivered strong results and he's built really high performance teams. And I'm really looking forward to hearing his perspective on how commercial leaders and commercial leadership is evolving in our industry and tap into his expertise. Gareth, before we go and ask you questions, I usually ask our amazing speakers, let's reflect back to see how we first met. Do you remember how you and I first met?
Yeah, so it was a networking event probably 12 months or so ago, was it now?
Yeah.
In London. So yeah, I do remember it well, Mehrnaz.
Perfect. You know, just to share with you, it was a DPU event in London. I think it was beginning of June last year. And Gareth was a speaker. And I remember I kind of dashed across from Oxford to get to the other side of London to see him. And what I find quite refreshing and different is normally in the last few years, almost every speakers we've had, I usually met them online before I met them in person. But with you, it was completely the other way around. I met you in person. I remember you handed your business card to me and I still got it. And that's how we kind of continued our conversation, which is so cool. I've got loads of questions for Gareth that I'm planning to ask today, but this is not about me. This is a live conversation and is always a lot more exciting and interesting when our listeners and our audience kind of shape that conversation. So I'm inviting you to write your questions and drop it into the chat. If something Gareth says resonates with you, give him a thumbs up. If Gareth says something that you think about it differently, do challenge us, obviously respectfully, because I always think debate is healthy. We get diverse perspectives, just broaden our horizon and our thinking. So I really welcome that. And I genuinely really wanted to hear from you today. I can see Ian Matters. Hi, Ian. It's so good that you joined. And thank you for sharing Gareth's interview so we can expose other people in your network to it. So thank you. Hi, Hayley. It's really good you've joining us from Lancashire. Perfect. And Jill Adams, thank you for joining us. Jill, it's ages since I met you. I remember, I think maybe it was about 9 years ago, we saw each other in person. And Jazz, thank you for joining from sunny Kent. So here you go, Gareth. You've got so many people who are, old friends and colleagues who are tuned in to listen to your words of wisdom. So I invite you, Ian, Haley, Jill, and Jazz, to just pop in your questions for Gareth. But just to warm you up, maybe I can kick off with a question. I just want to remind everybody that Gareth is representing his own views, not his company. So Gareth, that kind of allows you to talk openly. I don't expect anything else from you, though. So Gareth, you've built a career across senior commercial roles and different therapeutic area. If you look back from your experience, what experiences most shaped the way you lead today?
Well, first of all, Mehrnaz, I have to say thank you, because this is probably the first time I'm able to kind of get my musings out to somebody who'll listen that isn't actually getting paid to listen to me. So, thank you for that first and foremost. But I think, there's too many individual experiences to really pick out individual ones, and there's been some pretty strange ones over the years as well. So I think it's really just an accumulation of working with so many individuals, so many different teams, so many different situations, circumstances, products, parts of their life cycle, good times, tough times, that have really shaped how I've led. And I won't profess that I've got it right all the time. You learn well from your mistakes as well. And hopefully I've taken those learnings and not made the same mistake more than once. So, and shaped by the individuals you lead as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably as far as I'll take it for now, if that answers the question.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that, Gareth. I guess, I said earlier on, you consistently deliver. From your perspective, what really drives that high performance in pharma teams today? What is it that we need to get right?
I mean, I think where I try and or how I try and lead my teams is to give that empowerment. So to allow high degrees of autonomy, but with that also give the high degree of accountability. So really want to, I suppose, empower individuals to tackle situations how they see fit, utilizing their own personal strengths and taking ownership for it. And I believe that not only gets the best out of people, but that gets the best for the business as well, where people can really explore their own talents.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I was just going to say hello to a few more people who joined us. We have Lee from Kent. Hi, Lee. Thank you for tuning in. We've got Emma Vettellini. Thank you, Emma. I mean, Emma is actually tuning in from Switzerland, I believe. I hope you had a good London marathon, but I assume you're safely back home now. And Theo from Scotland has joined us as well. Gareth, you talk about empowerment and accountability, and I couldn't agree with you more. In our company, we've got 3 values: deliver, delight, and the third one is empowerment. And the empowerment for me is really important. We employ really intelligent people in pharmaceutical industry. I remember when I started back in 1992, some of the people who joined were targeted at the milk runs. Wellcome Foundation had gone to universities and tried to get the top talent. I remember when we joined, they said you're in top 5% of the graduates and whatnot. But then we get these intelligent people, tell them what to do, where to go, what to say, and we don't often tap into their talent. And I think giving that empowerment and accountability is so crucial, to let them think and just use their own mind to decide where they need to go and focus. And it's delighting to hear that you see that as a kind of like key things for unleashing your team's potential as well. I remember when we had a conversation, you told me about something that really inspired you around your experience of the rugby England team. Do you want to share that with us?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's less around. Rugby, but that is a passion. But you're right, Mehrnaz. It's really important to get the right people. And I read an autobiography a few years ago, and it was Sir Clive Woodward, who He was coach of the England rugby team, but completely unrelated to rugby. He was talking about the people who he employed, not just the players, his back office staff, everybody involved in his kind of rugby campaign to win the World Cup. And it was about employing people who are sponges and not rocks. And that's something that stuck with me for a long time. It's about having people who've got the mindset, who want to grow, they're curious, want to develop. And it's something that inspired me at the time. It's something I kind of reach back to. It's something that I see, in good people in my, in my current team and in previous teams, and it makes me reflect on myself. Am I being a rock or being a sponge? And it's about, the rocks are the ones who know they can do the job, but then they're not prepared to learn more. The sponges are the ones who are constantly looking for the edge. They're constantly looking to develop. They're constantly looking for the next new thing that's going to support them be the best they can be. So yeah, that was that's been something that stuck with me for a long time, and makes up part of my, I suppose, recruitment process and some of the questioning I ask.
Yeah, it's a new concept. I had not heard about it, and thank you for sharing it. And I think I remember when you shared it with me, I'm thinking like, am I a sponge or am I a rock? You kind of like trying to see which box Gareth's putting me in there.
I think I'll be more sponge-like and less rock-like most of the time, you'll be fine.
All right, thank you. I was having a conversation with an old colleague a couple of days ago, and I was saying for me, like the individual energy and attitude is really important, like that positivity. And I said sometimes you can get really talented people who they deliver, but they are terrible team players. And he said we call them toxic talent, and I thought that was a new one for me. I really like that, because it's not just about performance. And I think as we go through change, being a sponge, being open, but also looking at the bigger picture and thinking about other teammates is really important. We can do a lot more together than trying to kind of like be the hero in this journey. Yeah.
I think the other thing it sort of makes you think about is then you want people who are competitive, but you also want people who collaborate, and those that collaborate, they're the ones who realise that they're going to get on by sharing their ideas with others. You share your one idea with 6 people, the chances are you're going to get 6 new bits of information, top tips back, and that helps you then, beat your competition, I suppose. So having good people who are collaborators in the team as well, so that they're not trying to climb on the backs of others to get on.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy mix in a team. It's about creating that right environment where people can collaborate and get rewarded and recognised for it.
Yeah. Gareth, do you not think sometimes there's a way organization structure that creates that internal competition that stops people sharing best ideas? Like if you have like a collective goal as a team, then people are more likely to help each other. But if you have individual targets and league table, then people feel like, oh, hold the information to myself and not share it. Do you not think organization?
I do. I think there's a balance. I mean, I've seen it work all ways. I've seen league tables are good because they help people strive. Strive for the reward, strive for the recognition. I think aligned goals are also good, and it's having a balance that's going to appeal to most people most of the time. Again, not an easy balance to get right.
Yeah.
And it goes, I suppose, the other thing as well when you're talking about people in a team. Yes, you want people who are open to new ideas, but a little bit of resistance to change, a little bit of questioning and sense checking with you, I think is also healthy. I can be pretty cynical myself at times, and I guess being a good leader is welcoming welcoming that challenge, and being seen to listen and understand.
Yeah.
It's just knowing, then a good leader, takes the feedback, aligns the team, and then there is a time when it's just just do it, for want of a better phrase.
Yeah. Well, thank you for Helen for joining us. Hi, Helen. And I've got a comment here from Jill. I wanted to share with you. Jill's commenting about your sponge and rock idea. She likes it. Thanks, Jill. And she's referring to David Ogilvy's hiring philosophy was to hire people who are better than you, and then leave them to get on with it. Love that, Jill. Thank you for sharing it. Hiring senior people makes it great.
I didn't know where that one came from, but yeah, that's been another philosophy of mine. You know, hire good people, let them make you look good.
I kind of like think I love the bit that Jill or the philosophy suggests. Let them get on with it. I think you need to give people space so they can actually be themselves. I actually have a personal experience of that, Gareth. I was like doing a lot of stuff myself, and actually about 2 years ago I decided to let go and let the team members lead. And I must admit, Gareth is doing a much better job than I did, and I'm just so proud of them. You just give people room to be leaders, they always flourish. Yeah.
I think in environments where you're sort of light on resource, then it kind of forces your hand a little bit to just let people getting on.
Mm-hmm.
I like those environments, you know, where you're resource light, and it forces you to be creative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think with all the changes happening in the pharma industry, I think that's going to be a pattern, whether you're working in a big company or a small company, because everybody's trying to do more with less people. And that brings me to like the next kind of question I have for you around pharma engagement model. They're all evolving. They're evolving really quickly, and we've got more digital channels. We've got changing expectation from HCPs. From a sales leadership perspective, what are the biggest challenges you kind of think teams are facing when you're trying to adapt to this shift, Gareth?
I mean, you're right. I think, you know, there are a lot more channels, and I think there's a perception of customer needs changing. I think the fundamental needs of customers are just the same. It's just where they get the information that's different. And then the challenge of adapting your approach to incorporate new channels that align with customer preferences. And it's quite hard to know what those preferences are. Therefore, you find yourself utilizing multiple channels to try and, you know, hit the right buttons for a particular customer. So our teams and individuals in the teams are being tasked with trying to do it all, you know, multiple channels. And I think what we don't do is recognize the time and effort that takes. You know, we used to send people out on the road, and then they'd go and do a call, and then they'd fill in their call notes, and that was it. But now it's follow up emails, then it might be invites to webinars, and then there's the call note recording, because our CRM systems are more advanced. So I've encountered where senior leaders think, well, it's only a couple of minutes here and a couple of minutes there. Well, you know, that's 5 minutes per customer, or 10 minutes per customer, or 20 minutes a customer, and then that's, you know, you add those up, and then that's hours. You add your hours up, and then that's a day a week in extra admin that I think we seldom recognise and do need to. You know, so the traditional, you know, whatever it used to be, 20 odd days on field, no admin days. I think we do need to recognise that there is great burden on our teams if we want them to do things properly and not just box ticking.
Yeah, no, I think you're making a valid point, and I think I've kind of like alluded that in a story I shared in the book, that before maybe the reps were making 3 average call a day, a lot of the time when we're driving, and I think with digital, the senior leaders could look at how many duration of each call and add it up and say like, what's the field force are doing? But there's a lot more you need to do before contacting customers. You need to look at what's their publications, what committees do they attend, what's this like a strategic priorities for the ICB or the trust or whatever. So you need to kind of like do a lot more digital crawling to find out what's the ACP's environment and who are the key stakeholders, and really home in on the ones that are making pertinent decisions around policy. It's not just about, you know, ticking boxes and seeing people. It's about mapping out what needs to happen. And there's a lot more thinking goes if you're doing proper account management than just making an email and a phone call. And to add to your point, Gareth, I think HCPs don't know what their preferences are. I remember there was a cardiologist. I sent him an email saying, can we catch up? I hadn't spoken to him for like 7 or 8 years. and he texted me on WhatsApp. He went to, I think, Google, found I had written a book, got a snapshot of it, sent it to me via Messenger on LinkedIn. And when we met up with each other, he said to me, "Oh, I don't like digital. I just do face to face." I said, "Really? Like, look at what you've done to me. You've texted me, you've gone to Google, you messaged me on LinkedIn, and now we're meeting on Teams, and you're telling me you only do face to face." And he just laughed. I think I remember a senior leader in Takeda said to me, "If you ask me what's my preference, do I prefer going to the cinema or watch TV, Netflix, I would say cinema. But if you look at my behavior, how many times have I been in the cinema in the last year? I've not been. I've watched Netflix." So people don't know what they're doing themselves, really.
And then, so with what you just said there, then it makes it, even more difficult for our teams. We kind of hear the mantra of, kind of right message, right person, right time. But, then you've got to think, well, how, through the various channels you've got to do it through. And my best people, they take the time and they plan that. And if you don't allow them that time, then it's just, I suppose, misdirected noise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And noise is just noise. It doesn't have impact. If you want to have impact, you need to kind of like do it properly, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think the other thing as well, and I suppose this comes back to the networking event where I first met you, about this content piece. We create so much content in pharma, and actually we just need to simplify it down. Our customers are bombarded by lots of messages about lots of brands and lots of, about lots of diseases, and that's even just talking one therapeutic area. Well, you've got to keep your messaging really consistent. Focus on the few initiatives that are going to make the biggest difference, and just deliver those as well as you possibly can. And that's what I try and do with my teams, and that's what I try and influence up within organizations as well, that we just keep things simple.
Yeah, I've seen so many 30 pages detail aids or decks that you think, my God, it's just the same things being repeated in 3 different ways. And it's just so annoying because HCPs don't have time to look at 30 odd slides. I'm just conscious here, we've got so many lovely people on this LinkedIn Live. I really love to hear your questions for Gareth. So please jump in, and you've got a chance to tap into a brilliant mind here who knows how to create high-performing teams and deliver. So I'd love to hear your questions.
Steady on with the brilliant mind. I'm not sure I qualify for that.
Well, you're a straight talker. I like that about you, Gareth. You just call a spade a shovel and like say that it is. I love that. So here's another question for you. You talked about when you build and develop teams, what qualities do you look for in people who have the potential to become future leaders?
So again, I'm sort of, I suppose, a little bit conflicted on this one. I mean, I've worked with a lot of brilliant individuals who exceed in their sales, their delivery, and sometimes they don't recognize their own leadership traits. So they very much lead by example, but I often see or believe they've got the capacity to do more. And suppose that's helping those individuals see that within themselves and coaching that within themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I also see, I also see individuals who want to get on, they're fiercely ambitious, but often don't know the way. And I suppose the kind of clearest and easiest way to coach them is to say, look, if you put yourself in the position where you're in the top 20% for your sales, you're in the top 20% on every league table you measured on, that'll get you noticed. Mm-hmm. So it's about dedicating yourself in the moment to what you want, to what you should be doing, and then that will get you noticed for what you can be doing in the future. So I think it's 2 different approaches depending on the individuals, and then really sitting down with them and understanding what they want. And that can be, for individuals, for example, for ladies who have families, it might not be the right time, but then it's opening up the kind of thought process for when the timing's better.
Yeah. Thanks, Gareth. I think Dan wanted to ask the same question. I'm going to scratch the surface a little bit more. Is this an art or a science? Like, what qualities do you see? Like, you sense something and you think, oh, that is the right KPI. I'll look for the future leader. What is it specifically? Is it like one or two things
I think
that you sense?
you look for people who others follow, and that is
Okay.
as simple as I can make it. Who other people naturally follow, who other people go to or seek advice or direction. Those are your future leaders,
Okay.
and they're usually the ones who are performing highly in your team. And then those who need the roadmap to get there, the best way is to perform well in your current role. Your peers will look to you for support, and then that'll get you noticed by. I think a lot of the technical leadership management pieces can be taught on courses, but I think that you can't train somebody to follow you.
Yeah.
I think that's
You either got it or you don't. It's like the likability factor. Yeah, got that. Thank you. So, Gareth, do you have any advice for someone who's early in their career who wants to grow into a senior commercial leader role in pharma? If you were kind of like going to give them advice, what would you tell to them?
I was waiting for this question actually because I'm kind of quite passionate about this one. And this has sort of been born out of a little bit of my own career journey, but also things I've seen in I would say big organisations, and there are great opportunities in big organisations, but I've seen too many talented individuals on kind of fast track leadership programs in big organisations that go on a merry-go-round of kind of a 6-month placement here or a little secondment there, various roles and functions, often dodging sales. And that's not work experience. That doesn't create exposure to true business challenges. I don't think it builds resilience. I think you need to work on a brand or brands for parts of all the parts of their life cycle. You need to go through launch. You need to go through kind of growth. You need to go through, market share. Managing that market share protection. And when the opportunity arises, and it can arise for everybody, make sure you carry the bag. And I think only then that will give you real credibility wherever you end up on that corporate ladder in pharma, to know that you've been, in front of the customer, understanding their needs and fulfilling their needs with your product. So yeah, I would say, make sure you give yourself enough time and enough different roles that gives you the right challenges and builds that personal resilience, because you'll need it further up the ladder, definitely.
Yeah, thank you, Gareth. I think that's a really good piece of advice. I think the more you know about different elements of the business, you're going to have a broader horizon, and that bit, the sales bit, is the best opportunity to really understand the customers. And
but whatever role you're in any, whatever role you're in pharma, whatever role you're in most industries, we're all in sales to some degree. And I think having that, having done the, in the old-fashioned days, carry the bag or press the teams button, however you want to do it. I think that's the piece that's when you really learn. When I reflect back on my own career.
Yeah. Bob Proctor argues that we're all selling, marketing selling to sales, leadership team selling to marketing, parents sell to children, children sell to the parents, teachers sells to the students, or vice versa. We're all selling because we're selling our ideas to others to buy into. But, it's the key things. So we've got a question from Ian. Thank you, Ian. He says, do you have any tips on how we protect our high performers from fatigue and burnout as we operate in an incredibly complex industry?
Yeah, I mean, this is a challenge I see, I've seen quite recently. And I suppose we've been conditioned to be, out in the field 5 days a week, seeing customers. and actually you need to encourage people just to take that time out to do their planning, to do the small bits of admin. It's that give them permission to ask you without without the fear that you're not going to allow for it. And with high performing individuals, it's really hard because they always see the next challenge and the next challenge, and they don't want to slow down. So I think it's just giving them the permission so that that they're not afraid to ask when they need it.
Can I add, Gareth, you are a really good role model. You take time out. When you take time out, you're out. And I think the leaders set a expectation for the team. You know, when you chill and take time out to spend with your family and go on travel. Would you not think that has an impact on how others behave?
I'd like to think so. I mean, going back to really simple things about just not communicating with your team out of hours, because when that, regardless of what you think, you don't want them to reply. They'll just see an email drop in, and it's pressure. You can't understand that impact. So I try really hard not to communicate out of hours, certainly on email or through tech channels, and give people that personal space. And I certainly value it myself, and I like to create an environment of work hard, play hard, and just try and simplify everything we do.
Perfect.
Remove the barriers to, what's not making the boat go faster, throw it out of the boat.
Yeah, I just started reading that book. I absolutely love it. We bought it for everyone in our team to read it and apply it. So love that recommendation. We've got a question from Jill. She said, what do you think is the biggest challenges for pharma over the next 5 years?
I think we're gonna come across a lot of misinformation. I think AI is going to be an easy option for healthcare professionals to seek information which may not be aligned to what we want around our brands. So I think that's going to be something that's going to be difficult to negotiate for us. I think for sales teams, I think there's always pressure on budgets. I think there'll be pressure on budgets around headcount, which will then mean that your good people end up being expected to do even more, and then that will put pressure on us as leaders then to make sure that we're protecting them, as Ian alluded to. So yeah, I think those are going to be the two biggest challenges for us.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Good question.
Yeah, very good question. So I was going to say, we're coming to the end of our conversation. I wanted to ask you just one quick question. Gareth, have you had a chance to dip into the Omni Advantage book? And if you have, was there any tips or any things that really resonated with you?
Yes, I have, and I'd say, Mehrnaz, it's been an enjoyable book. I spent a long time listening actually on Audible whilst gardening, and it struck a chord with me. So many elements of it, bits of it made me feel quite emotional. I think this is around, I suppose, the journey that you've obviously gone through yourself and gone through COVID and managing teams and people and change, which many of us, I guess, on the call will have also done. I suppose the classic one is, we in pharma listen just about long enough to understand where there's a gap in a customer's need, and then we pile in with our product and what it's going to do for them and change the world. And what we don't do is ask the question behind the question, or the question behind the gap, to really seek to fully understand the need before we start talking about our product. So I think that's the classic. You've got one mouth and two ears. Use them in that way. So that one struck a chord. There was another bit in there which is around, we as businesses can be really sophisticated with our segmentation and our targeting, but we employ highly intelligent people on decent salaries to go out there and drive our business, yet we feel it's okay to give them fixed target lists of customers based on data. And I think, you know, that self-directed selection of targets and, you know, what they're going to do around customers, I think is really important for sales teams, you know, for them to be bought in to what you want to do and what you want to achieve. And I think the other piece was around this being confident with tech. And not everyone's great with tech. Not everyone's an early adopter. But it's creating an environment where people can learn how to use it, see the advantages it can bring them, and get on board with it. So, you know, that was something that, you know, I'll take from the book and make sure that I allow the space for people to learn and share that best practice and use the collaboration that I already have within my team to support others. Because we're all on this journey together. We can't all be, you know, super tech savvy, and but we're all going to need those skills going forward.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to listen or read it and share your insight. I think, Gareth, the main reason I wrote the book was really simple. I wanted pharma to really pause and truly see the HCP perspective. I used to be an HCP, a lot of my friends are. And I think that idea that HCPs are human, we are human, is so key, because they're not just prescribers, they're not just targets, they're people under pressure making complex decisions every day. And when we understand that, and we also understand ourselves, we communicate differently. And
I was going to say, Mehrnaz, that struck a chord actually with me just then when you mentioned it. I mean, I've seen, you know, I think when I was younger in my career, you used to see your customers on a bit of a pedestal. You know, they're kind of highly qualified nurses and doctors. I've seen the emotions and the emotions crack more in the last sort of 12, 18 months than I ever have before. And, you know, we can't underestimate the service that we provide, not just with our products, but, you know, just being there as a listening ear to some of the challenges they've got. So, yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Gareth. It's been a real pleasure having you with us today. I really appreciate your openness and your perspective. I know we've got a couple of questions about AI from Dan and someone else. I promise what we do, because we're running out of time, we would answer them on the chat, if that's okay with you, Gareth. I'm promising that on your behalf. Is that okay?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fine. Yeah. And well, just from my perspective, you know, thank you to those who've tuned in to listen. Thank you, Mehrnaz, for the invite. It's been a pleasure. And you know, I think, you know, if you're an aspiring leader in pharma or already a leader in pharma, I suggest everybody reaches out and either buys a copy of Mehrnaz's book or gets it on Audible.
Thank you so much, Gareth. I really appreciate you being here. I really appreciate, you must be a really popular leader and somebody people want to follow, because so many people tuned in to listen to you and said hi. I guess, you know, it's been amazing having you here. So thank you. And I just say, if there's one takeaway from today, is about like unleashing on people's potential so they could have a meaningful engagement, and meaningful engagement is more important than the content. It's about better connection, and that starts with listening. Thank you again for being here, and I look forward to seeing you next time.
Thanks, Mehrnaz.
Cheers.